Gary Hill Jr. joins the show to talk some Ichiro and hype up this current Mariners ball club.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, August 8th, 2025. This is Tony Gonzalez for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. And these are really just my absolute favorite shows to do because I love chatting with Mariners broadcaster Gary Hill Jr. His insight, his stories, his love for the Mariners. It's just the absolute best. We talked about Ichiro. We talked about this incredibly fun Mariners team. It was a blast. So let's get into it. Our guest today can be heard alongside Rick Riz on the Mariners radio broadcast over on 710 Seattle Sports. The longtime friend of the show, Gary Hill Jr. Gary, how's it going?
It's going great. It's great to catch up again. It's been a little bit, and there's been so much that's happened that this should be fun.
So much. We have so much to talk about today, and it's always great catching up with you. Appreciate you doing this. So you were telling me, you got the last few days off. How was that? What did you get up to?
It was very nice. Yeah, I took the last series off. The family and I went to the Oregon coast, Canada Beach, which is, we like to make it. I usually take one series off during the course of the season, and that's our destination sometime during the summer. So it's fun to just have like a normal family summer vacation.
Yeah.
So it's good to get away for a few days. It is. I love the job. It's great. So this is not a complaint. It's just the reality. Like that from that first pitch in February, it's just all encompassing. I sleep and breathe the whole thing. And then, family time in between. But so it is nice, especially this time of year, to unplug just for a few days until what I think we're all hoping is a super fun stretch run and something that goes a little bit longer than the regular season. So I'm ready for it.
Love it. Love it. So what are you getting up to when you're away? Are you doing some reading? You're just catching up on sleep? Like what's going on?
Oh, so we just spend time at the beach, rent beach bikes, do some hiking, just spend time outside, just hanging out with the family. Whatever they want to do is great with me. So just a lot of doing nothing, basically.
I love it. That's perfect. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. And then,
obviously
keeping track of what's going on, because I don't want to come back cold. So watching and paying attention, and it was a pretty big 3-game series against the White Sox too. So, keeping tabs on what's going on.
For sure. Yeah. 6-1 on this homestand. They're rolling right now. And obviously this offense is awesome to watch. We'll get into that a little later on, but I want to talk a little bit more about just the year that you're having. Obviously your role expanded this season, and now we're in August. So how's the season been for you as a whole?
It's been amazing. It's been everything I dreamed it would be. Since it was little kid me, it's what I've always wanted to do with my whole life. What do you want to be when you grow up? The question we get all the time. It's Seattle Mariners broadcaster, which is ridiculous as a kid to say. And like, that's not going to happen because there's been 2 of them in my life. And the fact that I'm doing it every day is I pinch myself all the time. It's been incredible. I love just calling the games every single day. I just love the grind of it. I love the daily, like, what's the storyline today? What's going to happen today? And watching it unfold every single day. I've loved it so much. So I can't wait to head down the stretch just to, I think we all are hoping the same thing for, big moments and big games and postseason and everything that comes along with it. And I just can't wait for that ride.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but growing up listening to Rick and all that, wanting to be a Mariners broadcaster, do you still kind of pinch yourself from time to time being like, I am side by side with Rick Riz and doing this and telling the story of the Seattle Mariners every single day?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it becomes normal sometimes, but then there's moments where it's like, whoa. And usually it's like, oh, I'm just chatting with Edgar Martinez randomly, or
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr. just walked in the booth and we're just hanging out. It's moments like that where it's like, well, this is really bizarre how it's all played out. It's kind of surreal how it's all played out. But yeah, Dave and Rick were who I listened to forever as a kid. And the fact that I'm next to him every day it's just surreal. It really is. And yeah, the pinching myself, it happens all the time. And so, I think about it all the time. I think about Dave and Rick and listening to them, and I think about myself being in that position, and now I'm the one talking to Mariner fans. So I hold a lot of responsibility in that role. Like, it means a lot to me that I'm in that spot, and not only talking to my friends and family out in the world, but I feel like Mariner fans are my family as well, because I was you as a kid and I've been with you this whole time. So it comes with a lot of responsibility. Like, it's really meaningful to me, but I try and live up to that every single day. I do the best I can. I know I fall short sometimes, but I do the best I can living up to that.
What does your game day routine look like? Like, how much sleep are you getting? What kind of research are you doing? Walk us through it.
I actually think the sleep thing is really important.
Yeah.
Because the hardest part about this thing, especially with the travel, is the everyday nature and the grind of it. And like, physically, like, this is no joke. We're not on the field, we're not playing, we're not exerting ourselves, but there is a grind to it. And I think it's really important. Like, try and eat well, try and get your sleep, especially on the road. Otherwise, this is going to grind you into dust and you're not going to perform very well every day. So, vitamins, exercise, all that stuff I take really seriously, because I think it's the only way you can get through this thing well and try and stay healthy. Like, we're all going to get sick along the way, and you're going to have to fight through stuff along the way, but staying healthy as possible is everything. So try and get enough sleep. I try and exercise just about every single day. Getaway days on the road are tough, but I try and stay in that routine. And also, especially on the road, like, I feel like you've got to find your thing, whatever it is. And like, running for me is it. I like to just get out in the city and outside and, for an hour or two, and just kind of centers me and gets me ready for the day. But I also, to start the day, I go through my numbers. I don't know if I've ever showed you my score sheet. I wish I had it in front of me, but I don't. But it's all automated. Like, I build it in Excel. And so my morning routine is to automate everything. And so all the numbers go in, and I probably do an hour or two of work just getting ready for that night, just kind of looking at mostly the other team, trying to dive in, what's going on with them, that sort of thing. And, get out, exercise, come back, do some more work, and go to the ballpark. I mean, it's pretty all encompassing every single day. And I like to listen to, especially, Tampa series starting tonight. So I like to listen to whatever audio, if they're Tampa podcasts, that sort of thing, just to try and get a feel of what's going on the best I can with another team. Because the way I look at it is, Mariner fans have really busy lives. They don't know what's going on with Tampa Bay. They don't have time to look into what's going on with Tampa Bay. So that's my job, to try and be as an expert as possible into the opponent and kind of what we're looking at here.
More from our conversation with Gary Hill Jr. in just a moment, but first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chants, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. I love that I can see the exact view from my seat before I buy, so there's no surprises when I get to the stadium. Gametime also has event cancellation protection and even job loss assurance, so I can buy with confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I want to talk Ichiro. So,
Oh yeah, let's do it.
we ready to transition there? Because
Let's do it.
this weekend's about
Transition.
Ichiro. And I think, just growing up when I did, Ichiro was, the guy. When I was 10 years old, Ichiro came. And it was just right after the Griffey era and Randy and all those guys. And there were still a few guys left over, Edgar and Jay. So I'm just to kick this off. Gary, you're a Mariners fan. What do you think of when you think of Ichiro Suzuki?
Well, one of the greatest players of all time, and truly one of the unique players this game has ever seen. And I'm not sure there is a player who's ever played this game who loves this game more than Ichiro. And we truly get to see that every single day. We go to the ballpark and he is there every day at home, going through the same routines that he's always gone through. And we've always heard about him, secretly going to the Hall of Fame. He's made multiple visits to the Hall of Fame. And what really touched me the most about him going into the Hall of Fame and the celebration this weekend for Ichiro is I don't think there's a player that appreciates that honor more than Ichiro. He just reveres the game at such a high level. And I just love that he can be anywhere in the world. He has the resources to be anywhere in the world at any time he wants. And what is he doing? He's at the ballpark playing baseball. And to me, that speaks to his love and passion of the game. And I think, as his career played out, I think we got used to it. But if you look back, the things that really stand out is the things that you could count on every single year. He was going to play 159 to 162 games every single year for a 10-year period. He was going to get 200 hits every single year for a decade. He was going to win a Gold Glove every single year for a decade. He was going to hit 315 plus every single year. And in this game, when everyone is striving for consistency and it's so elusive and so hard to get, I don't think there's been anyone, at least that we've seen, that's been as consistent and things you could just book as you could with Ichiro.
I feel like everyone has an Ichiro story. Do you have an Ichiro story? Like, tell us about the first time you met him.
I'll tell you my favorite Ichiro story. It's when he was still active as a player, and we were in, I think it was a series against the A's, so we were staying in San Francisco. And it's the kind of thing where, we all get off the bus and, people just in groups stream to the elevators and pile on, and you're on the elevator and you're going to the floor, whatever. And you don't really pay attention to, who's on the elevator with you or what group you're getting on with. You just, as a group, just kind of file on. And so, head down, file onto the elevator, and I'm in the elevator. I think Aaron was with me and Brad Adam and a few other people. And I look up and Ichiro's on the elevator. And Ichiro's on the elevator with his bat, which, believe me, it's not customary to see the players walking around with their equipment, like in the hotel. That's not a thing you usually see. They don't carry around their gloves with them. It's not Little League, right? Their stuff is packed and it's on the way to the ballpark. It's not in the hotel. So they're not walking around with gloves and bats and everything. But there's Ichiro with his bat. And the reason he had the bat with him, because we were like, so what's going on? He was bringing his bat up to his room so he could take swings in his room. So he was going to go to his room and he was just going to swing away. And I don't know how many, it was probably 1,000 for all I know. He's probably going to, for the next 3 hours, stand in his room and take swings. And for me, my favorite story because to me it says so much about who he is and the dedication to the craft, because I was going up and probably sleeping and he was just gonna go swing for a few hours. And to me that was my favorite Ichiro story.
That is quintessentially Ichiro for sure. What is, just talking about like the on-field stuff, what is your favorite Ichiro moment, because I mean there's so many that come to mind right now. Cutting down Terrence Long at third, walking off Mariano, setting the hits record, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, one of my favorite moments, because I absolutely love the 2001 All-Star game, is when he beat Randy to first to start that game. But yeah, you have any of those that I mentioned, or any that maybe I didn't mention that come to mind?
Yeah, there's so many. The Terrence Long lives in such lore because to me that was like the whoa moment. Like that was the what do we have here? Because it's easy, I think, for us to forget about the pressure that he had on him when he got here and signed with the Mariners, because now there's Japanese position players all over the place having wild success in Major League Baseball. But that wasn't the case when Ichiro came over, and he had a lot of pressure on him, and there was a lot of mystery. There's the famous story about Lou Piniella asking him in a spring training game, "Hey, can you pull the ball?" And he hits the home run, runs the bases. Is that good enough? He's like, "Yeah, do whatever you want." So it's things like that where there was such a mystery that no one really knew how this was going to play out. And that was the moment to me that it was like, wow, this could be something really special. So I think about that because I think about that as that's kind of my first Ichiro moment, I guess is how I would put it. That's the thing that really stands out. And I remember, it's funny. I caught up with Darren Jackson recently. He's the broadcaster for the White Sox. He was also a player in Major League Baseball, and he played in Japan for a little bit. And he told me such a great story about he was at second base in a game, and there was a base hit to center field, and he's rounding third base expecting to score, and the ball comes home and he gets thrown out. And he's like, what just happened? And he's like, the shortstop must have gotten it and then thrown me out. Like, I don't know what happened. And he goes to the dugout, and it was at the very beginning of his tenure, and his Japanese wasn't that great. And somebody looks at him and goes, Ichiro. And he goes, I don't know what that means. And then a bunch of players like, Ichiro. And he's like, guys, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what that means. And they point up to the big screen and say Ichiro. And he sees a replay of Ichiro from center field, just whoop. He was Terrence Long before Terrence Long, just cutting him down at home plate. And he's, the guys are laughing at him like, Ichiro, you got Ichiro. And he's like, he's looking at the third base coach like, everyone knows about Ichiro except for me. Why did you send me home? You knew that I was going to be thrown out. It's the funniest thing in the world. So that's the moment. The Terrence Long thing for me really stands out because that was the indicator to me of everything that was going to happen next.
Yep. One of my all-time favorite Dave calls too.
Isn't that the best? Yeah,
it is. It is. Getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was awesome. And I think one of the other things people forget too is Ichiro was a 27-year-old rookie. Like he had essentially 6 years of his prime that didn't count, and so it really is something when you look at all he accomplished, knowing that his career was probably at least 5 years shorter than it otherwise would have been. So, I mean, when you look at all the hits that he had in Japan and, there's the debate, is he the actual all-time hit leader? Who cares? This is a guy who is just incredible and did things completely differently in the heart of the steroid era too. He was a different kind of throwback in the heart of a steroid era. So I'm just so appreciative of everything I got to watch. And again, as a 10-year-old watching this guy come up and do this as I first started falling in love with baseball. Ichiro's a pretty special player for me. And I'm just thinking, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Mariners, right? I mean, like he has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make a great point too. The fact that he got to 3,000 hits in just his Major League Baseball career is astounding given the age when he started. Like, that's amazing that actually happened. Just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. Again, just like looking at the numbers right now. I mean, again, 27 years old. So, by age 35, age 36, he's still hitting well over 300. That's insane. That's really insane to think about, So, yeah.
You know, the other moment that really stands out to me, I feel so lucky to be there for his last game in Japan, in Tokyo. To watch that unfold in person was amazing. And I
Yeah.
always knew the love probably isn't the right word. Like his stardom in Japan, like I got a sense of it here. I didn't realize it until I got there, the level, just how it
Mhm.
transcends stardom anywhere. Like
Yeah.
how Tokyo in Japan feels about Ichiro. It was incredible. And to watch just the outpouring of his final game and the walk-off and everything else, to be there in person was just
Mhm.
amazing. Culmination of an incredible career.
Seeing the impact that he had on Yusei Kikuchi's life and seeing that kind of come out from Yusei in that moment too. One of the few moments in baseball that has actually made me shed a couple tears for sure. That was really, really powerful stuff. Our conversation with Gary Hill Jr. continues in just a moment, but first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. This episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up and college football isn't far behind. It's the perfect time to lock in your season-long, more or less picks for the 2025 football season, all before week 1 kicks off. Whether you've got your eye on big name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. I want you to take me through the night of the Geno trade. When did you find out? In the booth?
Yeah, you know, it's funny as when we're doing a game, we're just like everyone else. We're finding out stuff from Passon and,
Yeah.
Shannon and everyone else that's tweeting stuff because we're in the middle of a game. We have stuff going on. And I remember in Sacramento, we're in a really tight booth, and it just so happens that radio booth is right next to the TV booth, and there's kind of a glass window in between. And so Aaron is right next to me. It's just we have glass separating us, and we're just doing the game, and bang, bang, bang on the window next to me during the game. And I look over, and all I see Aaron, he mutes himself and goes, Geno. and I look at Passon, and I meet myself, and Shannon's right behind me. And to Shannon, I go, Geno. And he's like, Geno what? I'm like, the Mariners. And so, we're just like, in that moment, it's like every other fan, right, seeing the news for the first time. And, we start talking about on the air, it's being reported because, it's not official, that sort of thing. And
right.
It really, the game's going on and stuff is happening, and it was a really disappointing loss, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me tell you real quick about that night for me. So I have 2 monitors here. So if the game is not going well, I put the game on the second monitor and I start doing something else on my main monitor here. So I'm playing video games. I got the game going on the second monitor. My phone starts ringing. It's like midnight my time, by the way. And it's Colby, and Colby never calls me unless something is popping off. So I answer. I'm like, all right, tell me something good. And he's like, he's coming home. And that's all I needed to know. And I was like, all right, I'm getting my stuff.
And it totally, everyone forgot about the game after. I mean,
Yeah.
Us players, like it totally, like on a different night, I would have felt pretty bad hopping on the flight and leaving. But just given, I mean, there's only one way to say it, given the good vibes after the deal. And, we're standing there after the game. We got to walk out to Sacramento to center field and wait for the bus. And we're just kind of hanging out there and watching the Arizona Diamondbacks equipment bag being loaded under a bus. It's like, there it is. And, Yeah, I know you've heard the story, but it was so cool. Like, we're on the bus, we go to the plane, and we're just hanging out on the plane. And it's, sometimes it's the way our travel goes. Sometimes, we can wait, 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever. And we're on the
Right.
plane for a while. And then, like 30, 40 minutes into this thing, an eruption from the front of the plane as Gino walks on. And it was party time, man. Like, the way the fan base feels about him is the exact same way his teammates feel about him. And then he proceeded to go through the plane and literally hug every single person on the plane. And I don't know, to me, just in that moment, it felt like, okay, the season really starts. Like, there's a defining line between what has happened before in this season and what is going to happen moving forward starting tomorrow against the Texas Rangers. And at that moment, I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know what was going to happen in the Rangers series, but it did feel like a defining line in this season between what happened first and what happens next.
Can you think of another player who has like so endeared himself to a fan? Because Gino was only here for 2 years. I mean, it really is something that he is this beloved. And Mariner fans have always, latched on to guys they deem their own and all that. I get it. It's one of my favorite and least favorite things simultaneously about the Mariners fan base is how much they love just random players who sometimes aren't even that good. But Gino is good, but it was only 2 years, and he is. I mean, by all accounts, he's one of the all-time fan favorites already. Can you think of another player who managed to latch on like that quickly? Nelson Cruz, but I mean, Cruz was here for 4 years even. So.
Yeah. It's a great question. It's a great question. And Nelson Cruz is actually, I think, the closest. But you make a great point. He was here for 4 years, which that's twice as long than Gino was. I mean, it has happened really fast for Gino. And, it's that he's got that productive player, great guy, which I think really comes across. Like, I think his personality is such that even people observing from the outside, you get a really good sense of who he really is. There's that. It's, the punch in the ticket to the postseason. He was part of that team. It's like all this combo of stuff happened in just a couple of years. And so I think, it's, why do people feel the way they do about Cal, which has happened pretty quickly in his career. And it's that same sort of combo. It's like, oh, really productive player. Oh, he's helped lead the Mariners to the postseason. He's the best guy in the world, which comes across like he's very genuine. I think it's that cross connection of those things. And for Gino, people have recognized it really fast. And, I think about how the fans feel about him now. What if he helps punch them into the postseason again and does some big things? Like, he's going to be an all-time Mariner, given, depending on what happens the rest of the way.
It's interesting because Gino, strictly statistically speaking, has not been very good in his first week. He's just came up short of a couple homers that probably would have changed the narrative, but he's been very good. And yet you could just feel a difference with this club. And obviously Josh Naylor, who I'm sure we're going to talk about here in a second, is a big part of that as well. But even though he's not producing, like, just his presence alone seems to have lifted this clubhouse. Or have you gotten that sense at all?
Oh yeah. He's amazing in the clubhouse. And again, I'll say it, that the way fans feel about him is the exact same way his teammates feel about him, which is saying a lot because the fans love him. His teammates love him. And, I always feel like in a clubhouse, this is just my observation, my personal feeling on it. I feel like you need a lot of different types of personalities. Like, I think that's a good and healthy thing to have a lot of different types. Like, I don't think you want just a type of guy. And just to have that energy, like the good vibes thing that's real. That's really him. That's the way he is. And I think that's really great to have around, especially for a baseball team. Like, I think a baseball team probably needs someone like that more than anything because of the grind of the season. And you're going to lose 4 in a row. You're going to lose 6 in a row. You're going to have a night where you just blow it, or it's just a bad night and you need the bounce back. And to have that energy, to have the good vibes, I think it's pretty essential for a team. And so he does provide a lift, even when the production hasn't been there yet. Although the threat's been there too, which has been great to see. Like the difference between the lineup now and the lineup before is pretty remarkable. And I don't know how you guys see it. I think this is probably the deepest lineup since, speaking of Ichiro, since probably those early 2000 teams, especially given the context of the offensive environment. Like, I think that's what we're talking about right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that the night that they traded for him. Going back real quick to what you guys were talking about with, how quickly he became such a fan favorite. I think also a part of it is how he softened the blow of Kyle Seager retiring and just kind of, really without skipping a beat, just went straight from Seager to Gino. And obviously he was good right away as well.
The Mike Cameron
that certainly helps.
Yeah.
The Mike Cameron effect is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, to your point, like, even if he's not cooking, which he really isn't right now, again, the numbers would look a lot different if, he didn't miss a couple of homers by really a combined, 15 feet in that Rangers series. But it makes everyone better. Just his presence alone has a positive impact because it pushes guys down a little further in the lineup, and it gives guys better pitches to hit potentially. And just overall, it creates even more of a headache for opposing pitching staffs to have to deal with. And so it's so fun knowing that 1 through 9, really anything is possible. And, we talked about this, we've talked about this over the last couple of episodes. Like, the most consistent part of the lineup since the trade deadline has been 7, 8, 9. With Canzone, with JP, with Cole Young. And it kind of goes back to, how they were winning all those series at the start of the year where they were getting contributions from Miles Mastrobuoni and Leo Rivas. And obviously they're more talented now at the bottom of the lineup, but it's still kind of a very similar formula. It's just so much fun knowing that, like, yeah, even with guys like Cole Young and Dominic Canzone, like, those guys can carry the load here on at certain times. So I want to specifically ask you about Cole Young, actually, because I feel like every day I'm becoming a bigger and bigger Cole Young guy. Like, what he's doing at 21 years old, how little he's striking out in today's day and age, like, it's pretty remarkable. It's like, how have you seen that growth from him?
Yeah, that's the context too. The age, I think, is the context and what he's doing. And I think we've seen a lot of growth. That it was a rough start. 1 for 19 to start. If you take that away, he's been top 12. I haven't checked the numbers the last couple of days, but top 12 second baseman in WRC plus in baseball, which is great. For talking about a guy who's just been called up and is just 21 years old. I think you can see it, I guess is how I would put it. I think you can see what he could be. We've seen, and actually the power has kind of surprised me, like that home run at T-Mobile Park is like, whoa.
I texted Aaron after that. Aaron, like, I was like, I did not know Cole had that in his bag.
That's not something I saw, because I think of him as like, 30 double guy, down in his best season down the road. That's kind of how, with, I don't know, 10 homers, something like that. But yeah, power's like, maybe there's a little more in there than I thought. But it's kind of been what he's done at every level. He is, struggled at the start of every level that he's got to, and then figured it out, and then has been super productive. And it's great, I think, with the way the Mariners lineup is constructed, because unlike other prospects that have been called up in recent years for the Mariners, this is truly one where you're not relying on the production of Cole Young. Like, he is batting 9th, and anything that he gives you almost feels like a bonus, because he is not supposed to be carrying the Mariners. And so when he does have a game where he has a couple hits and produces, it's like, yeah, you got a really long lineup. And I've just been really impressed with his improvement as things have gone. I've been watching too. He's at I think 97 WRC plus coming into this game. And given our conversation about the length of the lineup, once he climbs over 100, they're truly going to have an entire lineup with every single guy at 100 or better. And I think the second lowest right now was like Julio at 112 or something like that. I mean, that's the lineup the Mariners are rolling out right now.
Yeah. And also, with what Dom Canzone has been doing against lefties, he had the walk-off yesterday off of a lefty. What he's been doing against lefties over the last week on this homestand, I mean, they're kind of justifiably platoonless for the first time, and I can't even tell you how long it's been. So
I've been really impressed by that too. Like that's one of those things I didn't see coming. I mean, first of all, Dom hasn't had a lot of MLB at bats against lefties to begin with, and the ones he had, he hadn't been very productive. So I've been super impressed with how this has played out. And part of it was, out of necessity, the way the roster is right now. And he is taken hold of this opportunity and has run with it. It's been really impressive what he has done so far this year.
So you talked about how this is, I think it definitely is the best lineup they've had since 01. But I think this was the best deadline they've ever had. Obviously, they added Randy last year. They added Luis, a couple years ago. And obviously the Luis trade meant so much more than just getting Luis. So there's that factor. But going out and doing something that Jerry and Justin really haven't done, which is go out and get the high profile rental player. Like they've gone out and they got rentals. They got the Justin Turners of the world, but those guys pale in comparison to what Gino and Josh Naylor were. Going out and getting both of those guys, and they wound up being the two best bats that moved. I would have liked to see them go out and get another arm. It seemed like they were pretty close to getting Duran, but the Phillies swooped in. But overall, like I think they had the best deadline of any team this summer, and I really do think that it was the most impactful deadline they've ever had in franchise history.
Yeah, I think that's right. And also the context of, they didn't give up any of the guys that we've been talking about this whole time too, which I think was also a surprise to a lot of us. And I think you're right. Yeah, another righty stuffy guy would have been pretty great. But outside of that, I mean, this was a home run of a deadline, I think. Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of the conversation has surrounded Gino because of obvious reasons. He's been here and he's beloved. I have been thrilled with the Naylor acquisition, and he's been really productive. So I know, wow, I've been thrilled with a productive guy. Like, wow, good take. But to me, it goes beyond. I just think he's a productive player, but a great fit for the Mariners lineup. Like a perfect fit for the Mariners lineup. Yeah. It's exactly what they needed in a couple of ways. Like the lefty bat, it really splits up. I mean, it makes it. Yeah, because I'm a guy who I don't care that much about lineup construction. I care mostly like get your best players towards the top, and if you can do some lefty righty stuff to make it tough on a bullpen, sweet. Like go get it. And so to me, Naylor does a lot of that, and he's also his profile. His profile just fits perfectly with what the Mariners needed, and it splits up, a couple of like guys. Because I think. In years past, sometimes the Mariners have been really easy to pitch to in that they've had a lot of similar profiles in the lineup. And there's no way to measure this, but I think it is more difficult for an opposing staff to pitch against a lineup like this. Not only are they good, productive hitters, but they're also, there's a lot of difference in the Mariners lineup right now, like a lot of different profiles. And I think that makes it difficult to pitch to. And for me, Naylor really puts that together. He's really the difference maker for me in the lineup and how it looks.
Yeah, and he also suddenly turned into Billy Hamilton.
Yes, which we all saw coming.
Yeah, totally. Third percentile in sprint speed. Is this the most unlikely 20 stolen base season ever? He's third percentile in sprint speed.
Yeah, because I've been researching first baseman stolen base years. I mean, this doesn't happen. Guys, like if you first, you research it back in the day, a bunch of guys from the 1800s come up. But after that, like first baseman for a long time now, they don't steal bases. Freeman had a 23 stolen base year a couple of years ago. Like outside of that, this is not a skill set that first basemen have. So it's pretty wild. And I like to think about I think Cal and Naylor are pretty similar in the way they go about it. They really just pick their spots. Like they're really smart base runners. They don't, it's funny when you watch it play out every time because it's not a lot of risk in their stolen base attempts. Like they've been thrown out, both of them, but they're really good at finding the exact right spot to run. And part of that is, who's throwing to the plate. Actually, that's most of it. Who's throwing, who's catching, all the things, the situation, all the things that play into it. I just think they're both super smart and it's really worked out. And, I am interested when you look at stolen bases in general and the success rates are really high.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we should be seeing this more, not only for the Mariners, but throughout baseball. Like, I think it's a great strategy. It's got to be in the right percentage. Like if you start to get thrown out too much, it's a problem.
Right.
But just given this kind of a new era with the rules, and Naylor and Cal are two guys that are taking advantage of those rules because we're talking about split seconds here, and so larger base. It doesn't take much to tip the balance into the runner's advantage.
I think the thing that's struck me the most about him in the first 12 games that he's played here, 13 games, whatever it's been now, is how good at the little things he is. Like I think about a play that he made in Sacramento where JP kind of sailed the ball over to first and runners busting it down the line, and Josh is able to not only adjust to the ball and be able to, make sure the ball doesn't go in the dugout, give up an extra base, all that, but he's also able to keep his foot on the bag, adjust his body in a way that protects himself and also protects the runner. Like he's an incredibly intelligent baseball player that comes across very quickly. And obviously, with, on his reads and everything, on his stolen bases, like he's an incredibly intelligent baseball player. Have you gotten a chance to talk to him at all since he's come over? Like he seems like a fascinating dude for a lot of reasons, obviously, but to especially talk about, just baseball with.
Yeah. I give him the highest compliment that he is a ball player.
Yeah.
Like he is just a ball player. And yeah, hearing him talk about hitting is super fascinating because he is a really thoughtful ball player. Mm-hmm. And when you hear him go in depth about, philosophy and how he thinks about hitting and how he thinks about teammates and the whole thing, it's like, whoa, it reminds me, it's funny when you watch a player from the other side and, you think a player by watching him, right? And I feel this way the first time I talked to Ryan Stanek. It's the best comparison I can make because we saw Ryan Stanek with the Astros forever. The big bully, his face like he wanted to kill you. And first time I talked to him, I was like, oh, you're a sweet guy. You're nothing like how I see you on the field. And so I guess, Naylor is similar in that once you start talking to him, like he's a really intense guy, but he's really thoughtful when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to his craft. And I've just kind of been blown away in these early days, getting to know him and hear him talk a little bit about how he thinks about the game and how he thinks about his craft. He has made a great impression, and beyond like, oh, he's been great on the field and helped the Mariners win a ton of games, but he's just made a great impression overall, I think.
This team feels too good to just be a wild card team, right? Like, let's get greedy. Let's win this division. Let's get a first round bye as well.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at every day. When I think about, because I'm scoreboard watching everything else, the Astros are the team I look at immediately because that's the goal, right? And hey, the Astros have owned the division, and it's their division until somebody takes it. So let me start with that. But when I look at the Mariners team and I look at the Astros team, I think the Mariners have a better team. Does that mean they're going to win the division? No. Texas could win the division. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But I absolutely think the Mariners can win the division. And whatever magic dust the Astros had for most of the season so far, and I give them a lot of credit because I've looked at that lineup throughout the course of the season, and I've asked myself how so many times, without Alvarez, especially for most of the season, given Tucker, they lost last year, we know all the stuff, the injuries, everything else. I've asked myself how so many times, yet there they've been playing well in first place. I think they're incredibly vulnerable, and I think they're vulnerable right now. You look at a series, you look at this stretch, and 3 of the next 4 series, Yankees, Red Sox, Tigers, 3 of the next 4. So to me, this isn't just get close, take him out in September. This is now. The Mariners have an opportunity right now in the next 2 weeks to track them down and pass them. And if things go well, never look back.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at this thing right now.
And it would be a nice return serve after what happened last year.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't necessarily a 10-game lead for Houston this year, but it was like, what, 7, 8 at its peak? Yeah.
I mean, it was to the point where Aaron and I were talking about this on the air, like, this is hard to, when you start to get 7, 8 games and it's whatever it was, July or end of June, something like that, that's not easy to come back from, because even if you start doing the math on it, even if the team in front of you plays 500 the rest of the way, like, you still have to play really well to knock off 6, 7 games. So it was getting to that point. So the Mariners have done well to get to where they are right now.
Gary, it's always just the absolute best catching up with you. It's seriously one of my favorite things that I get to do on the show. I appreciate you taking the time.
Always fun, guys. Thanks for having me. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, let's do it. And that's going to do it for our show. Once again, thank you so much to Gary Hill Jr. for joining us. And thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Tidy Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Tidy Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day and a beautiful baseball weekend, and we'll see you next time. Peace.